Hey everybody, this is Pete Griffin, here to show you the Steam Bass made by Finnish bass maker Juha Ruokangas. It's a really great kind of jazz style bass with a slightly different type body, almost more like a Music Man Stingray style. But for a vintage style instrument, it has some really nice modern innovations added to some of the electronics and the bridge and things like that. Okay, so that's basically the tone of it with both pickups fully on, which is a really nice standard jazz bass tone. It's nice and bright, it has a lot of punch to it, but you can still hear the notes really well. It has some of that nice growl that you expect from a Fender jazz bass style instrument, where you can really dig in and get a little more tone out of it. But it also has sort of a nice sort of modern scooped EQ to the sound, where it's a little bit more bottom heavy and top heavy, a little more thicker on the bottom and a little kind of zingier on the top. And what this bass has a really nice addition to it is when you pull out the tone knob right here, it has a push-pull action to it. When you pull it out, it makes it so the pickups are then wired in series, which gives you a really kind of nice both volume boost, but it also gives the tone a little bit more kind of bottom end and a little more growl to it, so it's better for a kind of rock context. So once again, here's it with it off, and then on. So for a passive bass to have something that gives you a volume boost is a really nice addition for an instrument. I've never had an instrument like that before. It's a really smart innovation with this instrument. It would be great to use for when you suddenly switch to a solo, playing the bass line, and then when you can give yourself a volume boost without having to touch your amp right here. Or it also helps for when you switch to slapping. For me, my volume comes down a little bit when I switch to thumb stuff, so play finger style, then switch. So here's how the bass sounds with just the front pickup. So it's got that kind of nice, more rounded, almost P-bass kind of sound to it, especially if you roll down the tone knob a little bit. Gives you kind of a cool Motown-y R&B sort of tone. So here's what the bass sounds like with just the bridge pickup on, or the back pickup. So once again, it has that really standard kind of Fender jazz bridge pickup, but it's nice and clear and mid-rangey, very much the kind of Jocko sound. Kind of helps you cut through the mix a little more if that's what you're looking for. And here's how it sounds with a pick. Has a really nice attack to it without losing that bottom end, and still has some great punch. of the features of this bass that I really wanted to show you guys about are really nice. The first is the rounding edges on the pickups. I like to rest my thumb right there on the pickup when I'm plucking. And so a lot of times on my other jazz style basses, the sharp corner of the pickup winds up digging into my thumb, and it gets pretty uncomfortable after a while, or I just walk away from a gig with a ridge worked into my thumb. This has this really nice, comfortable, rounded edge where it just feels so good to leave your thumb anchored there and while you're plucking through the strings, and it makes it just a nice, comfortable way. I'd love to use this bass on a long gig. I wouldn't have that same problem. And then also the bridge has a really interesting design to it where instead of individual saddles for each string, it has one saddle for 2 strings. And that might seem counterintuitive, but what it does is it helps with the string tension. Having 2 strings pressing down on one saddle puts that much more weight on it and also helps transmit the sound from the string through the bridge to the body. And then also, if you can see here, not only can you raise and lower the strings themselves, but you can change the intonation, but you can also swivel each of these saddles back and forth to perfect the intonation for each string. You're not just based on the one saddle being in the right place. It can be in a different place for each string.